Hey folks, this is Vint with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to quickly review Star Wars Squadrons. This is a game that you can find on Steam, Origin, and other places for about 40 bucks or so. So, wow, there's a lot to say about this one. Star Wars Squadrons. Well, first of all, what is it? It's a single-player slash multiplayer flight sim of sorts. Of sorts. It's not a true flight simulator by any means. Does it look pretty? Absolutely. Just watching the cutscenes and flying around and seeing the explosions and the Star Wars music blaring in the background, it hit me in all the feels there. As a diehard Star Wars fan, that part was fantastic. In this game, you can be either the Rebels or the Imperials, and you can even customize your loadouts and your ships for them. On the Rebel side, you've got an X-Wing, a Y-Wing, an A-Wing, and a U-Wing, of all things. I don't know. I guess they ran out of ships. There are plenty of other ships they could have picked. The U-Wing came more into play with Rogue One, but I was thinking maybe the E-Wing might have been a cool addition or some other kind of support ship, but then again, the Rebels didn't have a whole lot of support ships, true support ships anyway, back in the old days of X-Wing, TIE Fighter, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, and so on. So I guess they chose the U-Wing as the best bet. Anyway, on the Imperial side, you've got the TIE Fighter, you've got the TIE Interceptor, the TIE Bomber, and the TIE Striker. Again, another Rogue One ship. Again, I don't know how to feel about that one. Again, they could have done like a Lambda shuttle or I don't know, just there are other ships. I would have loved to have flown, say, a TIE Phantom from Rebel Assault 2, or a TIE Defender, or a TIE Advanced. I would have loved to have seen ships, but then again, they really aren't support ships, so I can see where they're going with that. I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm kind of disappointed. If you take a look at Star Wars X-Wing Alliance, or X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, you could have flown a number of different ship types, whereas in this game, the game limits you to 4 ships per side. I don't know, why nowadays, some games take a step backward in that regard, when games in days of yore were allowing you to control many more ships. I mean, X-Wing Alliance, you could set up skirmishes, 8v8s, you could set the waves, how many ships per wave, and you could even with a mod you could even control capital ships to a degree. I mean, it wasn't great, but you could do it. This game again sort of backpedals in the amount of control that you have over these battles, which is kind of a shame. That being said, what does it have? Well, it has a single player story. The single player story it's interesting. I mean, I think the story is you can see things coming from a mile away kind of thing, but it's still cool. Oh, there's Wedge Antilles. That's cool. I'm talking to him now. Or, oh, look at this. I've got my own squadron. I can talk to them in between missions. I can learn more about them. I mean, granted, it's not as in-depth as, say, the X-Wing books by Michael Stackpole, which, by the way, fantastic series. If you haven't heard of the X-Wing series by Michael Stackpole, go read those books. Anyway. So I do like the fact that, you've got your own squadron. You'll be able to go in there and talk to people. You can actually move around freely in these capital ships. It's just you point your mouse to a character, or you can point your mouse to your ship to go on the mission. But there is some dialogue in between, and that's okay. That's kind of cool. It's just a shame that they didn't let you walk around the hangar or do a little bit more, make it a bit more of an immersive experience. But the fact that, you've got these very diverse set of characters, I mean, that's kind of cool. And again, with the Imperial side, you've got somewhat of the same thing. You'll be able to, talk to people. The tutorial, in fact, is the prologue has you in control of the Imperials, and you fly a TIE Fighter and you're blowing up X-Wings. And then following that, you're in an X-Wing fighting the same fighters that you were fighting, like the TIE Fighters, in the same mission or the same area that you were just in as the Imperials. I mean, I thought that was kind of cool. You're looking at it from both sides. And then the story goes on with the Rebel side of things for a while. So I like that. I thought, the graphics and the sounds and the music playing in the background The idea that, you've got your squadrons forming on your wing with you. The biggest hurdle I've had with this game, and I'm still struggling with it, is the controls. Mainly, I don't have I don't have a flight stick. I do, but I have it for like X-Wing Alliance. It's somewhere tucked away. An X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. I'm not using it, but I'm using a mouse and keyboard. And I will say that the controls feel a bit loose and floaty and just, I don't know, like something's off. Like, have you ever played Star Wars Rebel Assault 1? That was like an FMV point and click shooter where you were in an X-Wing and you were, shooting TIE fighters and making runs on a Star Destroyer. They were repeated FMVs, so it was like you kept seeing the same clips over and over again until you actually hit everything you were supposed to hit. Until you died, whatever. But my point is, in that game, when you were moving your mouse to aim, your cursor would sort of float, and it was like you're on ice constantly. And it was difficult. You had to be deadly accurate with your mouse in Rebel Assault 1 because the mouse was very floaty on ice. This game feels much the same way. When I'm pointing at something or I'm trying to turn around, it's extremely slow. Yes, you can reduce your speed to turn around faster, I get that. But still, like, the controls and aiming were a bit more, like, I didn't feel like things were as snap or as crisp and tight as some of other games that I've played. I mean, when I played, say, X-Wing or TIE Fighter, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, I had less drag, less ice, you know what I mean, when I was moving things around. So, I don't know. I just, it could be that I'm still relatively new to this game. I mean, I've been playing it for 6 or 7 hours since the game launched. And I'm having a good time with it. It's just the controls I'm having a hard time with. Maybe it's something I'll get better with over time, but I'm struggling the most with the mouse and keyboard right now. And then sometimes I forget what buttons do what on the keyboard. In days of yore, R was to target the nearest fighter, and I'm hitting R now, and it's launching my countermeasures. T cycles through T in days of yore cycled through your targets. Now T will just whatever's in your reticle, like whatever's straight ahead of you, you'll target that. Targeting subsystems is a pain in this game. I used to use I used to use comma and period for that, and it's something else in this. So, like, sometimes I'm having difficulty in this game just trying to target someone next, or I'm still getting used to how everything comes together. I wish they would have kept the same control schemes as the original X-Wing and TIE Fighter so that I could easily just dive into this without too much of a trouble. I may try and rebind the keys, see if I can do that. That might be beneficial to me. Speaking of which, the options menu is fairly extensive. I'm not going to get too deeply into that, but there's plenty of different options for you to choose between. A lot of accessibility options, voice chat volumes. There is VR support, but I don't have a VR headset. There's subtitles. You can change the text size of the chat and all that stuff, so that's good. I did say that there was a single-player story. There's also a multiplayer / co-op aspect to this. In the multiplayer, you can either do a dogfight. There's like a 5v5. It's like 2 squadrons. I think it's a 5v5. They just fight each other. My favorite, though, is the fleet battles system. Now, I am not ranked enough to do strictly PvP with the fleet battles. But you can do fleet battles versus AI. And you can either do that solo, or you can do that with other people. And I do like that. And even if you fly solo, you'll still earn premium currency that you can use to further customize your ships. What do I mean by customizing? Well, whenever you go into your hangar, you can choose X-Wing or Y-Wing, A-Wing, or if you're on the Imperial side, you can swap between the hangars at will. You can choose, like, the paint on the hull, you can choose the decals, you can choose... Let's say you want an Ewok bobblehead in your cockpit, you can do that. There's hologram, like holo somethings. They're sort of like bobbleheads, but holograms that you can have pop up. Little window, like little dice hanging from your windshield or mirror, whatever. You know what I mean? There's little things that you can add. It's like, it reminded me of American Truck Simulator, where I could customize the dashboard of my truck. And in this game, I can sort of customize the look of my starfighter. It's nothing to write home about, but I'm just saying it's possible. And I'm playing just the fleet battles versus AI solo, and I am earning points toward that. And you can also customize your starfighters' lasers and your loadouts. So instead of using regular missiles, you can use ion missiles, or these regular lasers, you can use these lasers that do more damage but take longer to recharge or whatever. There's also power distribution when you're flying. That takes some getting used to. Luckily, that's pretty easy. In a TIE fighter, or a ship without shields, I should say, like TIE fighter, TIE interceptor, TIE bomber, you've only got engines and weapons. You can even them out, great. They'll give you equal distribution. But if you focus on weapons, for example, your weapons will charge faster. If you focus on your engines, you'll be a bit more maneuverable. If you focus on shields, if your ship has a shield, then it'll charge faster. There is systems where, like, some ships will have like an R2 unit or a droid that will repair damage to your ship just by hitting Q. It's a rechargeability kind of thing. And again, you can swap those abilities out at will, which is nice. The TIE Bomber by default has this assault shield that sort of blocks incoming damage as you're charging something, which is kind of cool. There's also a practice and fleet battles tutorial mode. I highly recommend you check that out. The fleet battles mode is simply this. You've got a capital ship. The enemy has a capital ship. You've also got 2 frigates on each side. And if you manage to destroy a bunch of enemy fighters, then the battle will shift to attacking the frigates. If you manage to take out the frigates, then you move on to their capital ship. But if the enemy takes out too many of your fighters, then the battle will shift back to the middle. It's sort of like a tug-of-war match, and you're constantly going back and forth, back and forth. And eventually one of you is going to destroy the other person's capital ship. It's kind of like a MOBA that way. There are other AI fighters. It's not strictly 5v5 there. There are AI starfighters that will fight you and you can destroy, but you get more points and more morale in that tug-of-war meter if you destroy a named pilot as opposed to an AI pilot. So I like that. It's actually quite fun, but it is hard. Even on the easy mode, it is hard. The AI consistently beats me. I mean, I still win, but like I die often. Even though I was the top ranked on my team, I was still dying constantly. So if you don't mind dying constantly, even on easy mode, then fleet battles is quite enjoyable. I like the idea of it. You can also fly toward a frigate and sort of just hover in place and it'll repair you, assuming you stay there long enough to do it. So yeah, again, I have mixed feelings about this game. Again, just to recap, the graphics are great, the musics are great, the sound effects are great, and I love the different ships. But at the same time, it's limited compared to other games in the series. X-Wing, TIE Fighter, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, X-Wing Alliance. You had so much more there. Customization options. Again, in X-Wing Alliance, I could set a 2v2 team or a 1v4, a 1v1v1v1. I could have an X-Wing, a Y-Wing, an A-Wing on this team, and TIE Fighters on this team. I could set both sides up any way I wanted to. I could include shuttles and cargo ships and frigates and corvette, anything. Like I had name a Star Wars ship, TIE Defenders, anything, and I could add it to that team, and even fly as one in most cases. In this game, it limits you to 4 ships per side, 4 ship types that is, and it's a shame. Like, give me a proper X-Wing Alliance remake. I'll be happy as a clam. Is that to say that this game is bad? No. It's just the controls and the lack of the customization give me pause to fully recommend it. If they made the mouse controls tighter and, you know, the keyboard controls a bit more friendly and, you know, that I would totally recommend it. And if they made the customization options better and more diverse and give me proper skirmish setups and stuff, I would recommend it in a heartbeat. That being said, I would only recommend this to the diehard Star Wars fan that is hard up for a proper, I don't know, like it's like a fan service Star Wars game where you've got your story, you've got some fighting, dog space or dog fighting in space. That's okay, but I would only recommend it to the hardcore Star Wars player because at this point in the game, we will almost buy anything Star Wars related because we like the universe that much. Whereas if you're not a big Star Wars fan, you go into this, you're gonna be, well, that's it. Just 4 ships per side, and I can only have this one mode. Yeah, there's dogfight and multiplayer, but I don't like multiplayer or whatever. So I don't know. It just lack of customization options stops me from recommending this game fully to everybody. As such, I would recommend this only to people that, you know, enjoy a decent Star Wars game, and like the dogfighting and the graphics and are there for the sounds and the music. But I find the lack of customization and the mouse controls disturbing, if that makes any sense. So I know it's kind of a long-winded, quick review here, but Star Wars, I was looking forward to this for a long time coming, and I still like it. I'm still going to play it. I'm just saying I wish it had more than what it had. It has a lot more potential to be something a lot better. There are mixed reviews on Steam right now. There's a lot of people saying that VR and the actual like flight sticks aren't working right. I can't comment on that. I don't really own either to mess with it. So take that with a grain of salt. And also, again, I gotta admit, I am a huge Star Wars nerd. So maybe my nostalgia here, maybe my love for the universe is clouding. You know, maybe this game isn't as good as I'm thinking it is. But at the same time, you know, I'm in it for the watching the ships fly around and shoot and that. And the dogfighting isn't bad. The sounds, the music, all of that's good. But I wish it had more. I really do. Star Wars Squadrons, $40 if you want to pick it up for yourself. If you guys haven't already, subscribe to me on Twitch and YouTube. That way you can stay up to date with any new content I'm going to publish. This is Vince. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.